We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the ground we stand on and thank them for allowing Papa to tell stories on these glorious lands we share.
Hello and welcome to Three Food Memories with me, Savas. For longer than I can poke a stick at, my company Plated has catered bloody delicious experiences for some of Australia's most extravagant and intimate soirees. Food connects us. It connects us to people, to places and to moments in time. These memories shape who we are and where we've come from. So come and break bread with my guests and I as they reveal far more about themselves than what they've tasted. In this episode of Three Food Memories, we're heading to Brisvegas to meet a man who has a knack for making the world laugh at his everyday. So much so that he's carved a living out of it. By keeping it real, he's living the dream. This comedian, author, podcaster and content creator is a master of comic arts, as well as a master of spending his hard-earned money on old shit, which may or may not have anything to do with the fact that he lives next door to a ye-olde worldy antique shoppy. So let's chat to the king of singledom about why going solo is the ideal lifestyle, how to destroy a hard-boiled egg in one easy step, why having younger triplet brothers can actually work in your favour, and how good is it to get paid for fucking around? Christian Hull, welcome to Three Food Memories.
Oh! Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry. What an intro.
Just how good is it to get paid for fucking around?
Oh, I have the best life. Like, I am my own boss. It's high stress. You would know. I mean, you're in hospitality, which is real high stress, but it's so good. Like, I'm loving it. I'm surprised at 37 I'm still able to do it and I haven't become irrelevant.
So success. We're talking about success here. You're kind of swimming in the success. Describe this success. How does it look, feel, touch, sound, taste?
Oh, Jesus. Well, see, I don't really... I mean... It's success. Is it success? Is being in $200,000 of tax debt success? I feel like Donald Trump, you know. Oh, yes, I've got lots of money. I'm doing so well with myself. Meanwhile, the ATO's just at the door.
Should you want to answer him?
No, absolutely not. Told security to escort them out of the building. I don't know how to answer that. Like, I live alone. I love being alone. Like, I can just not see people for weeks at a time.
But yet you entertain people, you are there for the people. So how can you explain that?
Well, with social media, I just get my phone out and record something and then upload it. So the communication or the dealing with people is just online. Like I don't see them. I read the comments where they tell me that I'm so funny. Ha ha ha! You're so funny. Oh, I'm like, oh, that's great. And
so therein lies the success. There, you're doing stuff that you actually enjoy, that makes you feel happy.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's my life's. I've always been very chaotic, and I hate planning. Put planning in the bin, and I've been able to just cash in on that. So I just film. Basically, if you've never seen or heard of any of my stuff, I just film the disaster that is my life, put it online, and that generates a decent income just from the ad revenue from the videos. And every now and then a brand will come knocking, and I'm like, absolutely, what do you need? Pants are coming off? Nope, they want me to keep my pants on? That's fine, I'll do anything for you.
Success. So therein lies the success. Now, your parents are freeloading off the back of your success, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Because you use them in your
constantly.
content?
Every time I visit them, they are comedy gold because they're just old and fun. Like it's not intentional. It's just like
well, it's become intentional.
They're just filming what Dad does. Like the other day, I was in Sydney, caught up with them, and Dad was like, "Oh, you've got to come out the back and see what I've bought. I'll just come down here and go out to their big garden." And there's this enormous contraption from Bunnings. I'm like, what is this? Oh, look, now I don't have to chop wood with the axe. He bought this it squeezes, it chops the wood. So you put a big log in and it goes, Yeah, like a wood, like, and then it splits in half. And it was the funnest. I felt so bonded. I was like, we bonded we couldn't hear each other over the sound of this thing. It was so fucking loud. And then we were just putting logs of wood on, and I was like, I have to film. Like, I had to film the whole thing. And it turns into this huge moment. And then everyone's like, oh my God, my dad's the same. Look at how excited your dad is. And they're really cute. They're just cute parents who get excited over the most ridiculous things.
Are you seeing, as you're moving through the years, like that'll speed up in a minute, I promise. Are you seeing bits of, yes, you are, aren't you? Are you seeing bits of you in them? Or
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All the bad qualities. The intolerance.
Only the bad, Christian? Only the bad?
Oh, I don't know. Yes, only the bad. My parents are incredibly, look, I say Dad was so yelly and intolerant. So I've got triplet brothers. So there's 3 younger and I'm the eldest. So there was 4 boys, and I'm assuming that was like trying to herd blowflies, and Dad was constantly screaming and yelling and shouting and being crazy. And I've developed that level of 0 to 100. Like, I get really angry if I open the fridge and the mustard is not where the mustard always lives.
Ooh.
And I remember distinctly growing up, Dad opening the fridge, and Mum had used the condiments and not put them back wherever, I don't know, they're supposed to go in the fridge. And you just hear, Karen! Karen! Where the fuck is the mustard? And then Mum's like, oh, for God's sakes, John, just look at the shelf above where it normally lives. And it's like, it's literally 2 centimetres away. And he goes, oh, yep, it's here. And I just remember going, is my dad blind? Like, is he incapable of functioning as a human? And then I realised, a lot of men have those traits. And then I definitely have the traits of just being a really useless human. And I think that's a trait my dad has. And Mum's the opposite. She's batshit insane. Like she could navigate in any foreign country without a map. She just knows where to go, what to do. She's just this wealth of knowledge. Like,
well, you'd have to be being the mother of 4, 3 of them being,
and married to the most useless man on the planet. Like, I feel safe with Mum. When I go out with Dad, it's like an adventure of will we survive?
How important is Mum in the hull in the hull of the hull?
Oh, vitally. It's exceptionally important. I'm definitely Mummy's boy. And I often tell Mum, and to a point Dad, that I'm so useless because she's done everything for me.
She's done her best. She's done the best job.
Yeah, it was to a point where I would come home from school and be like, I don't understand the assignment, and just slip her the piece of paper. And she'd be like, okay, well, let's do it together. And I'd just sit there and watch as she would do all of it, and then I'd hand it in. Like, some of it was like, it was clearly done by my mother, because we would do a school project, and it was about like wave rock, for example. And you could make a model of it. Oh my God, Mum got out, she's very artistic. Mum got out like plaster of Paris. She cast a proper, like, to scale model of wave rock. We went to the hobby shop and bought the little people and some trees. Then she painted it. And mind you, I'm in like year 2. So what am I? 8 years old. And I couldn't even carry it in. It was so heavy. And then
My mum made everyone.
And I was like, I did this myself. Everyone's got, like, I don't know if the Simpsons episode where Ralph has glued 2 mattresses together to be Florida, but it's like everyone else has just drawn something on a piece of paper, and I've got this very well done artwork. And that's basically my childhood.
If you align yourself with your dad and his behaviour, who of the 4 of you would be most like Mum?
Probably me.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think it's just because I'm so womanly. I'm the gay son. I'm very into the arts, and that whole world. Whereas my other, like, Mum would have to drag us all to an art gallery, but I would be like, yep, let's go. and I think in that sense, and also I'm realizing as I get older, Mum taught me, it was just try something and then trust the process. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to do something right the first time, whether it was making something out of clay or a painting or a drawing, and it was just try your best while you're doing it, and ultimately it will turn into something amazing. And that's what Mum would do. She was always good at everything, but it's because she wasn't stressed about trying to be perfect. And so I've definitely learnt that, like in the hobbies that I've taken up, like with the pom-pom bras or with designing a backpack or designing fabrics or doing any art projects, I don't care if it's not going to plan. Also, same with my video content. I don't care if things aren't going to plan. In the end, it'll be magical. So have a great time while you're doing it and don't worry about the end process. And I'm realizing, I think that's how Mum coped with raising 4 boys.
By keeping it real, you're living the dream, by being your best.
She was being a mother to 4 boys, hating it immensely, but was like, trust the process, Karen. It'll be all good in the end when they leave home.
So clearly Mum is a really big influence on your life. And when
Huge.
Just now that we're getting into these food memories, when I look at them, there's a bit of Mum in all of them. So the first food memory is, which is quite yummy, which is, I kind of want a piece of it right now at this hour of the day, is Mum's fried chicken and with the giggles.
Yeah.
And her special recipe. What did she do to make it taste so good?
But here's the thing, she didn't do anything. I just never cooked. Like, I was probably 14 or 15 at the time. I'd never cooked anything. And Mum, you could just smell when chicken for dinner, the fried chicken. Was so good, and come with a bit of sour cream. But it was just, I walked in at one point and realised, oh, no, you don't just take chicken out of the box and throw it in a pan. You've got to do stuff to it. I was like, oh, what are you doing? And I showed the slightest bit of interest, and I was like, oh, finally. And so it was literally, it's just flour with a bit of salt and pepper in it. Like, it's not revolutionary. You just dip the chicken in it and then put it in a pan with oil. The single most delicious food, though. Like, I don't know how or why, but it is, no other chicken has been able to, like, even KFC, I'm like, yeah, this is nice. But give me a chicken breast dipped in flour with salt and pepper. Okay, your face is telling me that is horrific.
No, it's not. No, I'm reading. I'm reading, and because my eyesight is so bad. No, I'm actually. I'm probably horrified that you said that the KFC, it's better than KFC, because now I want a piece of your mum's fried chicken.
Yeah, it's really
good. And I'm
thinking,
what does she do? What is the intent? It's literally salt and pepper that she's tossed through flour. Yeah. Boom, boom. She hasn't done anything to the breast, right?
No.
So it's something. It's the process. It's the oil.
But it could also be like the comfort. It was just such a comfort food, and then I'm realizing, it's really easy to make. And then now as an adult, I make it all the time, and it's.
So you make this dish?
Oh, come on! It's not that hard. I'm so surprised.
How close does it come to Mum's?
Exactly the same. Yeah.
So does she still cook it for you these days, Mum? Coming round.
Oh, going back home. Oh my God. Because I don't really cook. And yes, she does. Yeah, she's an insane cook. It's just ridiculous. And then you really, as an adult, you really learn to appreciate, 4 boys, just how much food she was constantly having to make all the time. Like, we were just eating constantly. And we were very spoilt. We were very lucky. And Mum and Dad were older. So they were in their mid-30s when they had me, and then, their 40s when they had my brothers. So they had, financially, were pretty good by that stage, didn't have a mortgage. And so, we were very lucky. And yeah, the food was very good. Because it's always you have the food at home, and that's just the basic. Oh, that's just what we always have. Then you go to a friend's house and they serve you their slop, and you're like, what is this filth? And then you go, wow. And you start to slowly go, I think I live at a restaurant.
My boys say exactly the same thing. Papa, Can we have, before we go, because we know we're going to get XYZ, can you make us this before we go and have a sleepover or a stay over?
meal.
Do you know how happy that makes me?
Beautiful. Yeah.
When they say that, I just feel like, yeah,
You're killing it. Yeah.
I'm killing it, and I feel for the parents that they go to, and I'm sure that they don't listen to this, so I can say it openly. I feel for them, but I go, it's sucked in, make an effort, like.
Yeah, and it's also having friends over. And them going, is this what you normally have? Have you put on a special meal for us?
I when you say it though, and so listening to you talk about the simplicity of mum's food, I don't think mum's doing anything gourmand, or I don't think she's cooking anything from gourmet travel. It is the intent, and this keeps coming up in Three Food Memories. It's the way things are made and the way they're done, and the intention of going into that act.
Yeah. Because I still do this. When she makes a meal, I go, oh my God, Mum, this is insane. Like, wish I could do something like this. And then it's always, it's just two things. And then you add, and then it's just, it is that intention and that sort of passion for cooking, and then the spices. She's like, you just add a bit of garlic butter on the vegetables. That's why they taste so good. I'm like, is that all you've done? And it's just like, yes.
You know the other thing, sorry to cut in on you, but you know the other thing that she's actually doing here, that because I think about me in being that parent, is that she's actually carving out a major chunk of her day to prepare food for people. Like, she's really got to reserve it right in that time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to shop. I'm going to get back, and then I've got to fold the clothes, and then I've got to tend to the father. She's taking that time out. It's that time.
Yeah, as you say that, I mean, I did know that, but I'm like, oh God, the guilt. It's always, okay, doing this for dinner, so I'll start this, I'll put this on the steamer, and I'll do this. Now I'll sit down and watch the news, what's happening on, ABC, Channel 9, they always like to watch every single news channel. I'm like, just Google. You can just Google news.com and, well, maybe don't go there, but like, come on, guys. Free-to-air television. Oh, that's a thing of the past. And then it's, back to cooking, and I know she loves it. I still feel so guilty. I'm like, I always offer to help. So, and then I pray to God she says, no, I'm fine, because I am so bad. And I think Mum says no to me helping because I'm so bad, because there was an incident. We had a blow up. We had probably our biggest blow up ever. And it was, so I was like, Mum, I need your help. Like, you're constantly, I've been here for a week and you're cooking breakfast, lunch and dinner all the time. Let me do something. And I'm like, I'm not doing the washing up. And Dad loves doing the washing up. So I'm like, great. And so she's like, okay, well, you can chop the potatoes. We're going to do this. Well, we'll also do some mashed potatoes. So I was like, okay, cool. I think I know how to do that. And so I would go off and I'd just start. And so the first thing was, I was going to chop the potatoes and then steam them so they would be soft, and then, I don't know, I just had my way about doing whatever the mashed potatoes was. And so I was chopping them on the bench, and there was only 3, and Mum was like, get a chopping board. I'm like, but I'm almost done. She's like, get a chopping board. I was like, well, I'm finished now. And then it was, what are you doing? Why are you chopping them that way? And I was like, no, this is just, trust me. This is because then I'm going to put them in here. And she's like, no. What you want to do. And then so she'd take over, and she's like, this is how you do it. I'm like, oh God, this is my childhood all over again. And this is how you do it. And this, I'm like, okay. And then it was just like, she was showing me how to do it, but doing it. And I was just standing there watching. And I was just like, well, fine. You do it then. This is a fucking bullshit. And I turned into my father. This is just ridiculous. Fine, you do it. And then Mum was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. And then I felt so bad because she was apologizing for me being an absolute baby. And I was like, oh, Mum, no, it's not your fault. You were just trying to show me. And I felt so guilty, and I was just like so angry because she just couldn't let me just chop some potatoes to make some mashed, to do whatever I wanted to do with them. And it caused quite a, I mean, when I say it caused a blow up, just from me, she was fine. She didn't yell. She didn't raise her voice at all.
Another one of my men just like crackering off.
God, I've really created such a useless bunch of children.
So you live alone. Live alone, and I want to know what are the eating habits of a single person?
They're the worst. So I've never been in a relationship. I've never wanted to be. Love my own space, and the big reason why I don't cook is because when I do, I overeat, because nothing comes in single. You can't go and buy anything in like a single portion. So if I'm buying some, well, you sort of can, but if you go by like chicken breast comes in like, and then I cook everything and then I can't not eat it. I can't put it away. I have to eat everything.
Put it away in another space.
Yeah, like if I put it in a container and put it in the fridge, my brain's like, oh, but there's some delicious chicken sitting in there. And I cannot physically continue with my day until I've eaten it. And so I just don't cook. I order everything. I literally don't cook a single thing. The last thing I made would have been when a friend came over and I did the fried chicken. Because that's so easy and so tasty, and I know it'll win every time.
So living alone, never been in a relationship, never wanted to be one. What could happen if Mr. and Mrs. they them came along and were like, "Hi, I'm here." What would you do?
Well, firstly, if it was a missus, I'd be like, "Out you get." No thanks. Well, it never happened. And so many people have asked me that question. Oh, but there'll come a time. I'm like, no. I can't sleep in the same bed as someone. I just can't physically fall asleep. I'm also a very selfish person and sleep diagonally across a king-size bed. It's just, look, I can toy with the idea and say, look, if it did happen, you know what? I haven't even thought that far ahead. I don't know.
Right.
And I feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable. It does seem sad. I often go, wow, I'll never know what it's like to be in love with someone. But then I go, but I'm living, narcissistic. I'm in love with myself. Like, I love living with my plants and just surrounded by my antiques. And I've got, a close group of friends. I'm not a social person. Don't like socializing. I hate compromising, which is, again, why I love not being in a relationship. And I don't like, I guess, living on someone else's time. It sounds so inconsiderate, but I don't like... It's like I went to Hong Kong recently on my own. It's the first time I travelled overseas alone. I could do whatever I want, whenever I wanted, and I pivoted. I literally was waiting for a train, and I realised I was on the wrong platform, but it was going to this aquarium, and I was like, I'll just go there. Like, cool, just do whatever. And we went to this it was just me, went to this Hong Kong aquarium, and it was the best day.
You
and
and
it was
Trish?
like... Yeah, me and Trish. And it was this accidental, and I just didn't have to, because I worry a lot if it's that thing, what do you want for dinner? Well, I'm like, you decide, because if I pick, I spend the whole time worrying that you're not happy with what I've chosen. And so that ruins my experience.
I get it.
And so I want to make sure that if I'm with someone, they're having the best time. If they're having the best time, usually I'll be having the best time.
So there's a sense of responsibility with engaging with someone because you want them to have that you want them to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're like, well, hang on, where do I fit into all of this?
Yeah, it's sort of exhausting. Like, it's tiring. Like,
exhausted trying to explain it, trying to work it out. But I get it.
So that's why I'm like, I can just do this alone and worry about if I'm having a good time.
Let's move on to your second food memory. Let's see what we're going to pull out of that one. Now, this is a Vietnamese dipping sauce. I'm trying to pronounce it Nuoc Mam, but I don't know how to do it. I'm just trying to... There's sounds that you don't pronounce.
Yeah, you're doing the proper one.
I can't get a tongue in the spot. I mean, I never usually have that problem, but in this particular pronunciation, Christian...
hello.
Let's go.
So this started with Mum used to also make her quick meal was Vietnamese rice paper rolls.
Quick meal.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, how gourmet. Like, this is what I mean. It's so fucking gourmet. She's like, we're just gonna whip up some rice paper rolls. I was like, and they were so good.
Was it your mum's version of making canton?
Yeah. Yeah, right?
I love the gag. It just keeps coming up.
She did them with sweet chili oil, and it was good. It was fine. I was loving it. And then when I went to a proper Vietnamese restaurant and I had theirs, they were good. They weren't Mum's though. Mum's were way better.
You have a thing for Mum's. You have a thing for Mum's kitchen. I think. I think no one cooks.
Spoiled and growing up, there's that. She has that flavour to her food, so you get used to it. And if it's not that, I'm like, ugh, take it away. And these ones, I could never buy a rice paper roll that ever competed. And then one day it came with this dipping sauce. I was like, oh, it's really runny. Like I'm used to the sweet chili, and it was really runny. And I tried it, and it was it. I literally took a shot of it. I drank it. It is so good because it's like sugar and vinegar, and isn't it?
It's sugar vinegar. There's some shallots in it, obviously
And
chili,
fish sauce.
fish sauce.
Yeah.
But it's the proportions. It's how she does it. It's what order that she puts it in. She's got her own way. She has done the research.
Well, no, she hasn't. Can I?
Are you sure?
No, because she didn't do it. She gave us the shitty sweet chili.
Oh, it's not Mum.
I
Sorry.
was like, sweet chili? What's this? And then when I went to this Vietnamese place, it was just so delicious. And I became obsessed with this sauce and then realised it masks the flavour of the gross non-mum Vietnamese rice paper rolls. And so I buy it all the time and I add it on everything. And also, the other go-to meal I make is the rice paper rolls because it's actually so easy.
So tell me, what's your take on coriander?
Well, can I get what's yours? And now, with this answer, I'm going to heavily judge you.
Well, I don't have a fucking problem with it.
Oh, thank God.
But I quite like coriander, and people who just kind of make like a song and dance about it, I really don't understand it. I just have to sort of collect myself and not be your dad at the fridge with the mustard in the wrong place.
Yeah, Dad's also the same with coriander. If you put a hint of coriander in it, he loses his mind.
But I'm coming to terms with the fact that this is how people feel about coriander.
Yeah, so I used to feel I agreed with Dad. Mum would put coriander in it. We'd be like, we hate it, and she'd put it in it because she was obsessed, and we all fucking hated it and it ruined. And so there'd be a plate of coriander, which was only for Mum, and then the plate for the rest of us. And it's just sweet. And it tasted like soap and I hated it. And then for some weird reason, my brain just flipped. And it is like, to me, that it's that flavour of fresh. It tastes fresh. And I have coriander on everything. Everything. I'll buy a bunch and literally just eat it.
So you can go from being vehemently against coriander to having it, like, bathing in it.
Yeah.
Explain to me the whole family. So you're the eldest, and then there's 3 that came, but how many years difference?
There's 4.5 years between us. And I think this is the story I tell myself. Mum and Dad had the best 4.5 years of their life, and we're like, let's create another one. I think it was the opposite, to be fair. They were like, this kid is an absolute dud. We need a new one. And fertility, they were always not great fertility-wise. So there was fertility drugs and then bam, you know. Oh, yes, Karen, you're pregnant again with 3.
Wow.
Yeah, and Mum had, you know, twins before me, and they were stillborn. And I saw a photo of Mum pregnant with the triplets, and she was gargantuan. And there wasn't many photos. I was like, oh, there's not many photos of you pregnant. And also, you look miserable. And I'm like, I get it, but could you at least have smiled for the photos, Mum? And she said, well, we didn't take photos because if I couldn't carry twins, I was absolutely confident this wasn't going to be a successful pregnancy. And she's like, I just didn't want to take photos. So Dad was the same. And then she was just miserable throughout the entire pregnancy because she was so scared. And I was like, that is heartbreaking. And it was also, the conversations change with your parents as you get older. You can really ask them, and they'll really open up to you more. And I was like, well, so what? What happened, or when did you start buying things? Then, like, you had triplets, and they were like, oh, we panicked because then they were born, and we were like, oh fuck, we have nothing. Like they bought, I think they just had a cot. And that was it. And then it was like the family...
Game on.
Yeah. And I was then shipped off to the neighbour because I was 4.5, so I was pretty oblivious. And I stayed... It was great fun. I was staying with all these people, having a fun time, really not understanding. I don't remember Mum being pregnant when I was younger. I don't really remember anything other than staying with our neighbour and my cousin. And then I remember coming home and... there's going to be three. There's going to be three. You know, you're constantly told this is a 4.5-year-old, but your perception is, well, everyone else gets one. And so you go, well, I'm obviously getting one. You know, three come home, and I'm just like, why the fuck is there three? And I remember for a long time being like, is it like a try before you buy sort of scenario? Do we
Did they go back?
do we just pick one? And I remember going, for fuck's sakes, Mum, pick a goddamn child and send the other two away. Like, this is so much. And it just was this, like, I genuinely remember thinking, when do they choose? When are they choosing? And then it was, no, they're all your brothers.
So did you get, like, what happened to you? Did you kind of just fall down the line of love?
No. Mum, being the absolute wonderful human being she is, created a monster even further. When my brothers had their first birthday, not only did she make a cake for each of them, I got a cake because Mum was worried that I would feel left out. I was like, Mum, you've got to teach me some sort of resilience. And I would get presents. But not just from Mum and Dad, like, family members were like, oh, poor Christian, he's going to feel like he's left out. Everyone thinks that I'm going to feel like I'm left out. So it was like, this is amazing. I've never got so much attention in my life. Like, they were overdoing it. And so I was getting all this attention. And I think that's where the performance element came in, because I was just like living in this limelight of the family. Like, Mum just had triplets, but I'm the one getting just showered with gifts and attention. And that's, I think, where the monster and the beast was created.
Speaking of the monster, behind you I can see a monster collection of antiques.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. There's some butterflies there. There's a teapot. There is, there's some vases. There's some sculptures. Is that a record cover or like a metal kind of?
Yeah, that's a friend of mine, Amy Shepherd from the Shepherds.
Oh.
Oh, shit. Sorry, it just fell off my chair. Yeah, I've got a lot of wooden furniture. I've got a lot of Dad's. Oh, Dad used to live in New Guinea. And so all of those, like, butterflies are real and they're pinned up like in a museum. I know that's a bit controversial. And I'd like, if I was to pan the camera around, like, every piece of furniture is from this antique store. And it's just so fun and there's just so much character.
What's it like living next door? They're having an obsession for antiques and living next door to a...
Isn't that such an old gay thing? Oh, I love my antiques. It's amazing. When I was living in, Newcastle, Adelaide, Melbourne, I was IKEA. Let's just get my IKEA furniture, and there we go. And then you just go, this is so boring. Like, it's just every piece of furniture is exactly the same. Yeah, cool. And then when I moved here, during sort of COVID, I made a fuckload of money through some sponsorships and also through making these little resin pendants that I did on my balcony. And so I was selling product and I was making a lot of money and there was nowhere to go. And because the antique store is next door, I would just swan on over there and I'd be like, yes, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. And because I just moved in. So I had just moved into my place. And I just bought all this old, incredible furniture. Like, I've got the HMAS Albatross is a decommissioned vessel, and they'd removed lots of things. And I bought this, like, chest of drawers, like little kitchen-y, like little knick-knack drawers. And I've got HMAS Albatross drawers. I know, ridiculous. And then I've got on the back of an old horse and cart, you'd have a huge chest. And that's from, like, the 1850s. I've got one of the, like... Just everything and all these old wooden drawers behind me and wooden filing cabinets. I've got a wood obsession.
Do you have a favourite item?
Yes. I bought... It's so ridiculous. Oh, my God, it was $800. So dumb. It's an old 1920s chest. You know, like they used to travel... Like, I've got to get on the train and go to, ye old England. And it's like a huge chest. But instead of opening it up like, and like a coffin almost, it opens standing up. So it opens vertically, and one half is a chest of drawers and the other half has got a hanging rod. And so you hang your clothes in it. It's almost like a magician's thing, and you open it up and it's this beautiful, like, mint green colour. And it's really old and battered and there's, like, some stickers on it. And it's just this, like, where's it been? Who have you been owned by? sort of fun piece of furniture.
Your third food memory is hard-boiled eggs.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
Christian,
not a
I'm
good
sorry.
memory. I've, as a portly gentleman, I'm constantly trying to eat healthy or lose weight. And one of the phases was eggs are good for you. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just have eggs. And one evening, this is when I was in Adelaide, it was in this tiny one-bedroom apartment. And I put some hard-boiled eggs on to take with me to work for the next day. I put them on the stove. It was a gas stove, and I had a really cheap, big sort of pot with 2 plastic handles. And I put it on, and I was like, cool, I'll be back in 9 minutes. And then the phone rang, and I took a call, and I was on the phone for like 40 minutes. And after the call, it wasn't a fun call. Like, it was, just helping someone through something. And then I was like, God, that was quite draining. I'm going to go to bed. So I went to bed. And then I hear beep, 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 beep. And I shoot up. I'm like, what's going on? Thick, grey, smoke is filling my bedroom. So the kitchen was like the other side, and my bedroom was, in another room. So I was like, I don't understand. What's on fire? What's going on? Beep, 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 beep. And then I go, oh my God, I left the eggs on. And so I'm fanning the smoke away to see what's happened. It was probably 2 a.m., 2 or 3 a.m., and it had just been on the stove for maybe 5 or 6 hours.
Reminds me of that 80s ad where the woman goes on the phone with, oh my goodness, the chips, and she burns the kitchen down because she's left the chips on the oil.
That was
chips.
And so I get in, and the pot was literally, the handles had melted off. I look in, I could turn the gas off. The whole gas stove is so hot. So I get the prongs to turn the gas off. I open all the doors to try, and I'm, pushing the broom to turn the smoke alarm off to not wake the neighbours. And then I'm like, oh God, and I take a breath, and I look in the bowl to be like, well, the eggs are going to be so charred. There was not a single egg in the bowl. There was nothing. And I was like, what? Where did they go? I look up.
No.
And they had, all 5 of them had just exploded violently. And there's just egg and it was like a yellowy eggshell, just everywhere, caked everywhere. And so violently that it had obviously just happened probably all at once. I had the ladles hanging up, and it created a silhouette. And I had to get a paint scraper to scrape the eggs off, and then I had fans and I had everything to blow this smoke out, and I couldn't go back to sleep, and I was supposed to be up at 4:30 anyway to go and produce this breakfast radio show, and oh God, and I was scary because I was like, oh my God, I could have died.
Kathy Led actually says that she uses her smoke alarm as a food timer.
Do you know how many times a smoke alarm has gone off when I've been doing the fried chicken? And I'm like, oh, that's right. Whoops.
Do the firemen ever turn up?
No. Devastating. But that's a $500 call-out fee. So I'm like, oh, okay.
So, Christian, off air, you joked about having an OnlyFans account, and I kind of was thinking, oh, I might want one too, but maybe he's just yanking my chain. Do you really have one?
Yeah, of course. I'm a very sexual person, and the opportunity came literally to do OnlyFans, and yeah, it's been. Can I tell you? I don't lean into it so much anymore because it's actually so much work. It's a lot of work, but I made this. 115 kilo body, made $45,000 from it last year. Yeah, so
Christian.
I know some people. There's a friend of mine in Brisbane. Get this right. This is his name, Girth Master.
Say no more.
I wonder what's going on there. He can make $80,000 a month.
Without going into the detail of the content, give us a little bit of a précis, an outline of what sort of content if we were to stumble across.
So it started out as me being really as a way to appreciate my body. I'm bigger, and I've always found myself ugly and unattractive. And then recently, just like the coriander, it just changed. And I suddenly started seeing myself a little bit more sexy. And so I started taking off layers. And rather than wearing a shirt at the beach, I'm now just in my little budgie smugglers. And then an incident happened where some body positive stuff was in the news. And I was like, now's my time. I uploaded some photos of me with my gut out. And I went, I'm going to join OnlyFans now. And so the content started off with me just like full nudes, like proper nudes. You know, and other things going on, into like videos, into collaborations with other people.
I'm feeling a bit Presbyterian now. Where's my purpose?
It's like full on in mouth.
Whoa. But Christian, here's the thing. I'm just looking at you and speaking to you, and you describe yourself as a bigger male, 115 kilos, but your sexiness is your confidence in yourself, the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, definitely the confidence. It took a long time. It took, 15 years for me to be confident, but I get that all the time. You're not conventionally attractive, but you're confident, so it's turning me on. I'm like, oh, good. Now give me $45,000.
So listen, it's another thing that I discovered about you. You worked in the US. Was it the US doing summer camps?
Yeah, so I left school, got a full-time job working in retail, and then was like, what am I doing with my life? And a friend of mine was going to work in a summer camp. And this is a great story of how my life is. It's very unplanned. It's very chaotic. She had planned this for months. She was assigned a camp. And she was like, you should do it. I'm like, oh, well, I'll do it next year. You need to plan a lot and whatnot. And then I just had a little psychotic break and went, I cannot work in retail anymore. She was leaving the country in 2 weeks. Summer camp started in 2 weeks from this psychotic break. I didn't tell a single soul. I went to the US consulate, the embassy, got a visa, signed myself up to this program, got assigned a camp in California. It was a farm camp. It's very not Christian Hull in the slightest. And I came home and I was like, hey, Dad, because he worked for Qantas, I was like, oh, I need to book a ticket to America. And he's like, oh, wow, when are you going? I was like, in 10 days, and I'm going for 3 months. And he was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then we booked a ticket, and it was literally like, it was within that 2 week, within that breakdown, I was like, I just need to get out. I need to go somewhere. And I was like, yes, did the interviews. And then they put me in the Manson family ranch in California in this hippie, it wasn't, but it was this it looked so Charles Manson. It was off, Highway 1 in California on the coast. It was just in the beautiful big redwood forest. Like these trees are the size of your bedroom. And it was a working farm. And I don't like animals. I don't like the outdoors. There was no flushing toilets. There was no hot water. There was no inside. It was all outside in tents. And it was one of the most incredible experiences. And so much so that I went back each summer for 3 years.
This particular time, there was a pivotal moment. Something happened was it the first time that you went to a camp?
Oh, yes. Well, I think that, yes, it was a pivotal gay awakening. I was still a virgin. And I was still a virgin, I was a virgin until 23. So I was a virgin throughout camp. So I knew I liked dick. I knew I liked dick from a very early age, right? I knew I was a whore for the dick, or I was going to be. And when I leave the country, you don't know anyone. You don't know a single person. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to deny that I'm gay. I'd never never had that mindset.
Give me some words because people can't see what you're doing.
The hands, do the voice. Just be yourself. It should be fine.
So take on Mum's advice with your homosexuality.
Yes, yep. And it was so funny because one of the other counsellors who I became incredibly close with was so excited that there was an Australian guy coming, and she was like, "Oh, we're gonna have a great time together," and I arrive, and she couldn't even. She was so far away. She was in another field, and she said she heard me go, "Hello," and she was like, "Oh, damn it!" And so it was pretty obvious early on that I was a flaming homosexual, and I was just embraced and accepted and loved. There was no cell phone reception, there was no news, there was nothing, and I dressed. Oh, yuck. It was so, that's my experimental dress for terry toweling pants, multicolored rainbow toe socks that are knee high, and a vest with cats on it and a glow mesh bum bag. But that was peak fashion at summer
What
camp.
did you keep in your fanny pack?
No, sometimes you would keep Band-Aids, mozzie spray, sunscreen. You had the essentials. And it was just such an amazing time for me. And I met, the reason basically why I moved to Brisbane. There's another Australian, Trudy. And I see her almost every day, and we became incredibly close. And it was so good. And it was not your typical summer camp. It was a working farm. So you grew your own produce. There would be about 150 kids and about 30 counsellors. So it was quite small and pretty intimate. And the kids were there for 3.5 weeks at a time. And so you get assigned a unit with 3 other counsellors. And it can vary from, young girls, the sort of preteen boys, and then you're in charge of them. Oh, that I was like, impossible. Kids are impossible. And then because you're growing your own, most of it you grow yourself. The food was next level. It was so delicious and fresh. And what would happen is before the kids arrived, the animals that were raised last year, half were slaughtered, and we would eat them. We would eat them. I mean, that's what happens anyway. Sheep is a sheep, no matter where it comes from. But it just tasted, oh God, poor Barry the sheep from last year. You wouldn't tell the kids. The kids didn't know. The older ones were very cluey.
Clock on.
Yeah. And then, so you'd have access to all this incredible produce. The year that I started, we had Christopher Pippolis, who was from New York, and he was a very good chef at an incredible restaurant in New York, and he had his mental breakdown and was like, I'm going to go work in a summer camp. I can't deal with the chaos in the kitchen. So we got this incredible chef, and he just made the most gourmet food. And it's that whole idea that you were saying earlier, like mum would invest the time and the effort into the food. He invested the time. And, you're cooking for 250 people. You'd think it's just a production line of slop, basically. It was so incredible. The best cheese toastie I've ever had.
Well, there's an art in cheese toasties.
The dedication.
Yep,
each one was done in a frying pan with a particular oil, and then the bread was a certain crispiness, and the cheese. It was so good.
You've chosen Share the Dignity, ending period poverty in Australia as your social cause. Before you tell us about Share the Dignity, what is period poverty?
Often people go, why share the dignity? Because, I don't have a period. And the whole thing is, well, period poverty is quite a big issue that affects a lot of people who menstruate. And it's basically people that can't get access to these period products, tampons, pads, moon cups. They use toilet paper, they use socks. They're just using stuff that they shouldn't be using. They should have access to this basic sanitary need. And it comes down to the cost. The fact that they cost quite a lot. And Share the Dignity's mission is to make sure that everyone can access these for free across Australia. And I thought that was a wonderful mission. And I first heard about them. They do It's in the Bag. So it's a campaign toward Christmas where you fill a bag with toiletries, sanitary items, a couple of gifts. So you feel like a nice handbag. And then it's distributed to homeless shelters, DV centres, and it goes to these women who are fleeing sort of situations, and they feel that they're at the lowest point in their life where they've been abused, they've been coerced, they feel like no one gives a shit about them. They've had to leave their pets, they've had to flee a situation with nothing, with actually physically just what they're wearing, and that's it. And so when they get given a gift like this with these items in it, when they really need them, and Shelley Dignity asks that you write a note. So you write a little note, a personalised note in it. It has changed these women's lives. It just gives them that feeling of being loved. And so it just sort of shakes them out of the situation that they're in, and they go, right, okay, it's horrific, it's bad, but okay, there's an out, or what is this? And someone
there
actually
with me.
cares for me enough to buy these things and write this note and give them to me. And I thought that was an amazing yearly drive that they did. And then in March and August, you'll see in every Woolworth store these pink bins, and they just say, can you please buy pads and tampons and fill them, and then they get distributed. And so I just thought, I was like, oh, I didn't know this was an issue. And my core audience, I mean, I gained a big following of mums through playing a character called Trish. And I thought, well, I mean, this is something that affects them. I may as well champion a cause that they'll feel that they can relate to and be passionate about. And so I've been an ambassador for them for, God, like the last 6 or 7 years.
Now, we have a final question for you. Here at Three Food Memories, we have a tradition, an MK Fisher Serve It Forth tradition, where we serve the next guest, or you serve the next guest, a dish. What would be a dish that you would present our next guest?
Ooh. Wow. It's like, it's the coriander option. I would do rice paper rolls. Because rice paper rolls on its own is a meal. I can get away with rice paper rolls and nook mum, that's a meal. Whereas just the fried chicken isn't. You've got to have something, and I can't be bothered cooking anything else with it. So and they're literally the only two dishes I know how to make. So, but they're really good, and you can you do boiled chicken. Oh my God! Stop it! I learnt how to do lemongrass beef. Oh my God, it's so delicious. It's just lemongrass in beef. That's it.
So we've got a third meal in the repertoire, in the Christian Hall repertoire.
Yeah, you put lemongrass beef in a rice paper roll. So good. That's what I'd serve.
Christian, thank you so much for being on Three Food Memories with me.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I love going down memory lane and reminiscing about the good time. And food, you can't go wrong with food. Well, you can go wrong with food, and I have gone wrong with food. But anyway, yeah, that's another podcast.
Here we are, the final episode of Three Food Memories for 2024. But fear not, we've got you covered until we return. There's 12 days of Christmas, a selection of episodes minced into bite-sized pies. On all the socials, we're dropping uncut trimmings of never-before-seen reels. And to take us into the New Year's season of TFM, we have a comedy special that promises to tickle your tits till Friday. In the meantime, follow Three Food Memories to keep across it all. And if you love what we do, we'd love you to give the gift of sharing us with a friend this season. Happy Christmas, Galikronya, and all love from us. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Papa's podcast. Don't forget to like